Come on.
What's up, everybody? Happy Football Sunday. Welcome to National Tight End Day. This is Sunday Tailgate. Guys, I'm your host, Stacy Perez, and I am joined today by Dave Heilman. He is at Dynasty Dorks. You guys, he is a writer for the SPG Network, and he does the socials on the Dynasty Trade Calculator. Dave, happy Sunday. Happy National Tight Ends Day.
Happy National Tight Ends Day. I threw George Kittle as my tight end to trade for Fantasy Pros article this week, and they threw me a shout out, and we'll talk about George Kittle in a little bit.
Oh yeah, George Kittle, probably my favorite tight end of all time. I know he's just so much fun, right? Like I really hope he goes into broadcasting when he retires, because I think he would be so enjoyable to like watch, like call a game or any of that stuff.
Yeah, he's like Jason Kelsey. I mean, even if you're that's your opposing team, it's hard to hate on George Kittle. My son's favorite player is George Kittle, and so last year he had a Kittle, got a jersey, got a bunch of Kittle cards. He's had a Kittle Christmas last year, and he loves them. He's just fun guy, and hopefully he has a big day today.
That's what they're gonna call their Christmas special when they do like when they launch their stuff and he retires, a Kittle Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
It is definitely hard not to like him. He's just so much fun. Guys, we've got like so many things to talk about today besides all the tight end stuff to chat about. We got a lot of really cool storylines. We're going to get to those. We are going to get to all the injuries as they come in. 11:30, those are going to start hitting. We're going to have, alerts going off. So we'll get you guys those as they're rolling in. Put your start sit questions on into that chat so we can get to those as well. It's Bye-Mageddon. We got 6 teams on a bye. There's so much to talk about, so many different things going on. So we're going to get to those 3 little DFS action towards the end. And, if you can hang with us long enough, you're going to get Maddox's Monday Night Football picks. Just remember, he is still in his rookie season. So you might just want to take the opposite of who he's picking this year, because so far he's won in however many Monday Night Football games we've had so far. I've lost track since we've like doubled up so many weeks now. I don't, what are we at, like 10 or something like that now? 8, 10, something like that. Yeah, crazy. But yeah, guys, so we'll get to those going on. Some of our headlines today. What's up, Jamie? Actually, hang on real quick. Hanging out in the chat. Thanks so much. But yeah, some of our stuff going on. Lamar's out, Dave. Like I thought he was gonna play, but I guess he's not, and I can't tell if I'm Am I frozen? I thought I was frozen for a second. I think I might be okay. No, I'm good. Okay. Yeah. So
no, I was connecting to the chat so I can say what's up to Jamie. So I froze for a second.
Okay, good. Sometimes I freeze. And I just, after like much bullying from my Monday show co-host, I finally got a Wi-Fi extender. So I was like, oh God, is that thing like gone off the rails now? Yeah. Huncho, what's up? Who has a better week, Gabriel or Huntley? Pro Bowler Snoop Huntley, actually. We have to put his proper name out there. What do you think?
Yeah, that's we're deep diving for that one. Assuming a super flex, probably a QB2.
I hope so.
Really rough situation there. Yeah, I'll go with Gabriel, but I don't feel good about any of those situations. He gets New England this week. He has been passing at a high volume, and even though he's throws a couple picks or fumbles the ball, he still seems to get a good safe floor.
Yeah, I agree with that one. Yeah, so I want to talk, since I'm glad, Hunter, you brought that up with Huntley there, because I want to talk about the Ravens a little bit. They've been spiraling, coming off their bye. And now Lamar's not going to start. Although, I was kind of annoyed about that because I have him in a few leagues, right? But then I saw somebody note online, right? They have the Thursday night game next week. So it was kind of like, why bring him back? And then you've just got like a short turnaround. So maybe just wait, hold off, have him start against Miami down there and on Thursday night. So I guess that kind of makes a little more sense, although it sounded like they were trying to like ramp him up to play. So I don't know, a little weird. What's going on with the Ravens? Do you have any thoughts on that? Because I don't know what's going on with them.
Yeah, I mean, they are the San Francisco 49ers with the injury bugs. And we'll see. Maybe they take that short week and you don't see Lamar this week or Thursday, and then you really stuck. And those that took Lamar Jackson in your super flex leagues in the first couple picks, or even in your redraft leagues where you're taking him, you're taking Lamar Jackson pretty early, even in one quarterback leagues, it's really tough. And all the pieces around. I mean, we talked last year about the MVP race, how Josh Allen really picked everybody up. It's pretty apparent Lamar Jackson is pretty important to this offense. Even Derrick Henry is struggling without Lamar.
Yeah, and that's like, and there's another one, like you're taking Derrick Henry in the first round, early second maybe, then you're gonna go get Lamar in probably the third or the fourth. So that's if you maybe you did like a little stack there. That's two of the guys on your team that are not doing well at all. That are I really heard it. I would wonder if you had those two guys, if you went with like a Raven stack, something like that. Like, what's your record like? What's your season looking like so far? Because it's probably not great.
Yeah, I if you have too many Ravens, you're in trouble. So luckily, I don't have too many, but I do have Jackson sitting in a couple leagues, and it is frustrating.
Yeah, it for sure. I think I lucked out in one league that I have him. I've got Drake May. I picked him up pretty late, so I'm okay there. But yeah, another one. I had to go pick somebody up off waivers to start this week. Actually doing that last night while I'm at intermission during the Lightning game. Like when I see the note that he's not going to start. Jamie wants to know, he needs a huge TD parlay hot take for the tight ends. I actually have one for you. I've got I think it's about 10 guys on there. It's pretty wild, ridiculous. If it hits, you guys will never see me. I'll be off on an island somewhere. After that, we'll see if it actually hits. Who knows? But if you hang out for a little bit, I'll get to that for you. And then Dane, thanks for hanging out this morning. He wants to know Judkins or Devonta Smith full PPR. Judkins is getting New England. And then Devonta Smith, obviously, they are playing that rematch from week 6 against the Giants this week. New England's got a pretty good run defense. I don't know. You're not starting Judkins, right? Like you definitely are starting Judkins, especially in Bymageddon. Oh, but I don't.
Yeah, I got
really
them both in my top 26 PPR flex rankings. I got Judkins at 26, but I got Devonta Smith all the way up at 14. The Giants are going to be without Paulson Adebo today, which is their number one corner, and Javon Holland is likely to miss the game. He's had a neck injury he's dealing with. So A.J. Brown out, wheels up for Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert. I got Goddard as my number 2 tight end this week.
Nice. All right. Curdy wants Curdy. I hope I'm saying that right. Wants to know Xavier Hutchinson. Oh my goodness. Or Justice Hill PPR. I kind of like Hutchinson on this one just because there's literally no one else in Houston right now. Everybody's hurt with Nico and Christian Kirk out.
Yeah, and what's up, Curdy? He helps me run the listener league. He actually does all the work now for the listener league for DTC.
Oh, awesome.
Got to scroll down a little bit for this one. I got Hutchinson at 96 in my PPR flex rankings, and I got Justice Hill at 104. So I'm gonna stick with Hutchinson as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a Dalton Schultz game too. I think that I'm really interested in Dalton Schultz. I have a few DFS plays with him there too today, just for volume's sake. Yeah, guys. So again, buys this week. Just a reminder: Arizona, Seattle, Detroit, Jacksonville, Vegas, who seems like they're always on a bye, and the Rams. So we're missing a lot of really, really good players today. Yeah, guys, again, thanks for everybody hanging out this morning. Like I said, just to hop on over into that chat. You got questions, comments, throw them in there, and tell us who your favorite tight end is of all time. I want to get some love to the tight ends today. I don't think there's any weather issues. We had some pretty wonky weather in Cleveland last week, but I don't think there's anything going on, at least that I've seen today.
I don't think so. I'll have to check that out, but I don't think there's any weather. I've not heard anything about the weather so far.
No, kind of starting to get into that weird weather kind of time, but looks like we're
the
all
Oregon
good.
game last night was a monsoon.
Oh, was it? I see. You know what, Dave? I got to tell you, I don't watch college football. I don't, I just can't. I've never been able to really get into it. I think I don't even have a team. Like the school that I went to, like we have a football team now, and they didn't really have one until I went there a few years, relatively new, University of South Florida. Um, so and I don't want to root for the Gators. I don't want to root for the Seminoles. I don't want to root for the Hurricanes. So I'm just kind of I need a team, I guess, to really get into it.
Well, I'm looking at it. There's really not much. The Bills are outdoor and Carolina 9%. Atlanta was 20%, but they're a dome.
Mhm.
A slight chance of thunderstorms and 9-mile-an-hour wind, but they're at New Orleans, which is a dome.
Yep.
I think we're good. Indy's got a dome, so there's a little bit of wind there, but that's a retractable roof.
Mm-hmm.
Patchy frost for the Steelers game, so it might be a little nippy out there. The only game with a little bit of a potential issue is the Chiefs game, 35% rain, and they are not a dome.
That's cracking me up. Patchy frost. I'm down here. It's like 80 something degrees in Tampa.
Yeah, that's Pittsburgh.
Nuts. Jamie says his favorite tight end of all time is Harold Fannin. Jamie, I feel like that's pretty early to say that he's your favorite tight end of all time, but
Is it Harold Fannin Sr. that he's talking about?
Is it? Oh, okay. Okay. All right. All right. That's true.
Senior out, but we'll see if that is Jamie. You have to let us know if that's. We have a lot of kids out there with their dads playing, and Arondé Gadsden had a nice start to the tight end National Tight End Day.
He did kicked it off.
Week. His dad apparently sat him in his fantasy team and told him he had to ride the pine until he stepped it up, and he's been on fire 3 weeks in a row. NBA Jam rules apply. He's been really good.
Yeah, I saw that. He said that he benched him, and then he's done so well. He's just going to keep him on the bench now. Like he can't take him off the bench now that he's got it going. Jamie said he's going to marry Harold Fannin's mom one day. Then I guess she could be Harold Fannin's stepdad one day. Yeah.
Yeah, JJ Zachariason talks about how he met Harold Fannin's mom, Harold Fannin Jr.'s mom, this offseason.
Did he meet her? Because so she was at their whole family was at the expo this year on that night. So it must have been there that he met him. That's so far. I remember at that like Friday night party or Thursday night or whatever, one of the parties. Anyway, and they're like, "Hey, Harold Fannin Jr.'s parents are here." Oh, very, very cool. Jamie, he was the one who introduced the family to everybody. That, there we go. Bringing it into context, full circle here. Love it.
Now we connected it all.
Exactly. So it looks like Kirk Cousins is going to be starting in Atlanta. Penix has got that weird kind of bone bruise. Do we think this is, I've seen a lot of different things out there. Like maybe this is either like a benching for Penix, or maybe it's just kind of a way to get some teams interested in doing a Cousins trade. Are we buying that? Do we think that he's going to get traded?
I don't know. I don't remember watching the game and seeing Penix get hurt, but I do remember like news coming out pretty immediately that he did have an injury. We'll see. I mean, we've seen so many quarterbacks get traded. I hope Jameis gets traded to a spot where he can, do some action, and who knows what happens. I mean, I hope no quarterbacks get hurt this weekend, but like last weekend we had 4 or 5 get hurt. Some are not playing this week. We got just, last 2 or 3 years, we've had about 60 plus different individual starting quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So it's pretty tough out there, especially in your super flex leagues where you're starting Mac Jones, Andy Dalton, and, guys like that.
Wait, you don't have to start Andy Dalton in a regular league like I do this week?
No, I'm glad I don't, but I did start Carson Wentz, and it was either Mac Jones or Marcus Mariota this week because I have Goff on a bye, Sam Darnold on a bye, and Jaden Daniels hurt. So getting real deep.
I got a 14-team league, and I lost out on Flacco during waivers, and so red rifle it is. I was looking at the depth chart real quick for the Falcons. So behind Cousins is Easton Stick. So if they did trade him, that's kind of who they're riding with as a backup for the rest of the season, unless something else changes.
Yeah, I mean, financially, it makes a lot of sense. From a football standpoint, it doesn't, unless they make another move to get somebody else. Easton Stick, I mean, he's not really done anything, but if you can get something for Cousins, it makes a lot of sense financially. And then, of course, get some picks. They don't have a first round pick next year. They moved up in the draft to get Pierce, so they do need some draft picks. But again, that salary, they're going to have to eat a whole bunch of that, which is a lot easier to do now than it was in the offseason when they were going to, teams just were not, they weren't going to pay a third or fourth for Cousins and then have to pay him $20 million.
Yeah.
So now that they're paying half the price, they might be willing to give maybe a fourth or what, something similar to what Flacco went for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, we got a question real quick here in the chat. Would Darius Slayton today or JCM, our good buddy Bill, full point PPR over here? Cody wants to know. JCM obviously going up against the Chiefs on a Monday night. What are we thinking on this one? How do we feel on that one? Bill's been hit or miss lately.
Yeah, he had that one big game, and then it's not been great. I still do have him ahead of Slayton. Slayton is coming back from an injury. He hasn't really done anything this year. I know you haven't really seen him with Dart that much.
Right.
But I'm gonna go with JCM. I think more volume. You just don't know what you're gonna see. Slayton could end up with 3 targets or 6 targets. So I'm going to go with Bill.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I know the Chiefs do have a pretty good, run defense here, but I completely agree. I think you got to go with Bill. There's just too many other options there in New York too, for them to go to. All right, so another trade rumor that I was seeing floating around the internet yesterday was with BTJ, Brian Thomas Jr. And I did see it, noted, and it seems kind of weird, like for a second-year wide receiver, one who was drafted as highly as he was, to be kind of rumored in trade, talk right now. I can't remember the last person that would have been in a similar spot, right? That was drafted that early, second year, talking about getting traded. Are there any red flags that we're seeing? Like he's having a really down, kind of odd year.
Yeah, I mean, body language doesn't look good. He's, alligator arming a couple of times where I know he's banged up, but you can see where like coaches don't like that when you're going across the middle and you're not willing to make the effort to do that. And it's turned into a couple interceptions. He is hurt, so it's kind of hard to trade a guy that is hurt. I mean, last time we saw him, I think it was Thursday night game or something, and it was a late, like a Sunday night game, Monday night game. Yeah. And he was, his shoulder was pretty jacked up in the first quarter and the rest of the game. But, he's definitely got to show more effort and better body language. But, I mean, he was amazing last year. And to see someone get traded like that, I just think that's extremely unlikely to happen. And with Travis Hunter, I mean, yeah, he's great and could step up and be the number one, but they're still using him on both sides of the ball. Do they really want to get rid of BTJ in that situation? So I don't think it happens.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, this is really strange they're talking about. Maybe we just need to reconnect him and Mac Jones. However, we
get and he goes to San Francisco.
Oh, that'd be a good one. I found a question here online that I want to get to from one of our posts. It was Kincaid or Mason Taylor with a tight end plus PPR.
So trade, is it a dynasty trade?
Oh no, sorry. This was from our post from earlier today for the show. So Gunna wants to know Kincaid or Mason Taylor today with a tight end premium.
Oh yeah. Let me pull up tight end rankings.
Mason Taylor, is he not banged up? I kept seeing that
he is banged up and his quarterback's terrible. So I have Kincaid one spot ahead. They're both banged up. We got the queue next to them. We'll find out in about 10 minutes if there's any designation there. But I'm going to go with Kincaid. Justin Fields is quarterback. He's banged up. I know it's a good matchup against Cincinnati, but I'm gonna go with Kincaid on here.
Yeah, I think so too. And it, a lot has to do with that, being with Justin Fields. If it was Tyrod Taylor, I might think a little bit differently. And then also to
And
your point with Kincaid, like if he's out, not Cole Kmet, my gosh, Dawson Knox, um, everybody. But
and when
yeah,
you're looking at upside, I think the Jets have 7 touchdowns all year.
yeah,
There's just not as much upside with Mason Taylor. They're not going to, be passing the ball all over the yard. They're not going to be scoring 3 or 4 touchdowns. Kincaid has much higher odds of scoring a touchdown this week, in my opinion.
yeah. I mean, if their offense was doing anything, I really like Mason Taylor just as like a talent at tight end. Really kind of excited about him for the future. But yeah, for today, Kincaid 100%. Especially, and the Panthers do. Let me check my thing, but I'm pretty sure the Panthers give up a ton of points at tight end. If I'm not wrong on that. Yeah, they are giving up about 15.9 fantasy points per game to opposing teams tight end. That's like the top 5, something like that.
Yeah, and
So
Kincaid's a huge part. They talked about, Joe Brady was saying he's got a playbook with Kincaid in and a playbook with Kincaid out. I mean, he is, he's a very big piece of that offense. I know it's the whole everybody eats situation, but, he is, when he's on there, he could easily lead the team in targets. And Mason Taylor, yeah, he's can be one of the leaders in targets, but it's him and Garrett Wilson and Brees Hall on a very crappy offense.
Yeah, exactly. Jamie's heading off. Jamie, thanks for hanging out with us. Jamie put his touchdown parlay in here for tight end day. He's got Goddard, Kittle, Tyler Warren, K-Dot, and Tucker Kraft, mac and cheese. That's my fave. We got Kyle Pitts and Dalton Schultz. Kyle Pitts hit 2 touchdowns last year on National Tight End Day. I like that. That's a fun one. I feel like that's got some juice. You could definitely do something with that.
For sure.
Yeah. So, all right. Speaking of National Tight End Day, just to remind everybody, gets started back in 2018. It's like an inside joke between George Kittle, Jimmy G, Garrett Selleck, blast from the past there. Who is most likely to celebrate? I wanted to give you guys some numbers from last year's National Tight End Day on 2024. 16 total tight end touchdowns, 177 receptions, which set an NFL record for a single day. Kyle Pitts got 2 touchdowns, Kittle got 1, and he got 128 yards. A lot of guys went off that day. We can't talk about George Kittle because it's his day. So we know, I mean, like I almost feel like you can take it to the bank that he's going to get in the end zone today. He's going to have a good day. Beyond George Kittle, who's most likely to get in the end zone today?
I'm gonna go Dallas Goedert. He just seems like a pretty solid target for Jalen Hurts in the red zone. He's been on a heater, and he gets my Giants today. So I'm not liking this pick, but I think Goedert's gonna have a good day.
Yeah, I like that one. I'm gonna go Jake Ferguson. Even though they are playing Denver, I get it, tough defense, right? But like Dak loves him on every day, not just National Tight End Day. So I feel pretty good about Jake Ferguson getting in the end zone there, along with some others. This is, like I said, it's just an exciting day.
There's a lot of good tight ends this week, and there's a lot of tight ends that are thrust into action because of injury. Otten's one of them. Schultz is one of them. Noah Fant is interesting with the situation. Like I said, we already saw Gatson. But there's you look at the rankings, and there's guys in here that we didn't necessarily think would be in there at the beginning of the season. I mean, I had Gatson at 7 this week. I got Schultz at 5. Tyler Warren, I got it as the number 1 tight end this week. Kate Otten at 9. There's a lot of interesting tight ends, and again, some of them are just backups that we don't usually play. And if Kincaid's out, slide Dawson Knox into the conversation.
Yeah, because I mean, Josh Allen loves going to him in the red zone. And before Dalton Kincaid even got drafted, Dawson Knox is there, one of Josh Allen's favorite guys when they're getting in close. So, if he's out, you can kind of almost count on getting some action out of Dawson Knox. The other DK, I like that they're both their tight ends or DKs. We got a question from Morrison here. He wants to know, we got to pick 2. We got Bill, DeAndre Swift, Rico Dowdle, Woody Marks. I like DeAndre Swift today against Baltimore. Their defense or their run game has been hot lately, the last few weeks. So, and they were actually one of my starts that I was going to talk about a little bit later. One of my little honorable mentions there. So I definitely Swift for me for sure.
Yeah, it's odd to see the Baltimore Ravens is giving up the most fantasy points to defenses. I think they're top 3. Jets are by far the easiest matchup, but Bengals and Baltimore are not far behind. So I got DeAndre Swift starting in this situation. I got Rico Dowdle as my second pick. Sit the other guys. And we'll talk in a little bit how I feel about Chuba.
Yeah. Surprisingly, the Bills also really high up there with opposing running back, fantasy points. So I like that. For me, I'm thinking Swift and Dowdle for sure. Those two out of that group, if you got to pick two of those.
Yep.
Yeah. We got another question over here. Arian Smith or Nick Westbrook at Kine. Guys, it's ugly this week. By him again. It is ugly. You got any thoughts on this? It took me, you know what? It took me a couple of weeks to even realize that Nick Westbrook-Akine wasn't in Tennessee anymore.
Yeah, it's pass. No, I'll go with Westbrook-Akine because Darren Waller is out. I do think you see more Malik Washington and more Westbrook-Akine. Last year he went on that 7 or 8 touchdown streak.
A little heater.
We saw Darren Waller, be pretty involved in this offense, and you could see, him in that kind of a role, just doing crossers across the middle, being that red zone threat. He's a bigger guy, and again, I'm really staying away from the Jets. I don't care who they're playing. There's probably 4 or 5 college football teams that I wouldn't want to start Jets players against. They're bad.
Yeah. They're terrible. Are they okay? Who's worse, the Jets or the Titans?
Oof. The Titans are worse than the Jets, but as far as the offense, the Jets there are multiple players that have scored more touchdowns than the Jets this year.
I feel like this is when you could really make a case for how they do it in soccer with relegation. We'll just elevate one of the college teams and get rid of the Titans or the Jets at the end of the season.
Yeah, I saw a joke this week of it's really sad that the Jets didn't have any players involved in the NBA scheme because it just shows they're just that bad.
Right. I saw a joke about that too. That was that's how Ramondre Stevenson, that's why he was fumbling so much and still playing, that was somehow involved in some sort of scheme. Obviously that was a joke, not real, guys. Breaking news. Drake London is going to be out for today's game. That just came out.
Ooh.
That's brutal. That's definitely brutal because we're already down so many guys this week. Gonna have to be making some last minute changes there, guys. So if you got Drake London, yep, there we go. Drake London is out. Yeah, if you have him, make sure to go grab him, snatch him out of your lineup real quick. Just Kyle Pitts.
That's huge. I was going to say that this could be a very sneaky week for Darnell Mooney. Cousins and Mooney had quite the connection last year. It's been an awful year for Mooney. I really don't put it on Penix. I think it's just he's been dealing with so many injuries. But he's got a little rest.
Yeah.
And Cousins back. I think you look at the familiarity. Just remember Mooney against the Eagles last year with those 2 big touchdowns. Cousins is, he's not afraid to throw it deep, but you're looking at someone that there's familiarity with. I think that's going to be a fit. And they just got rid of Ray McLeod. So there's really, Pitts and Mooney and Bijan. I'm going to move Bijan. If he's not my number 1, I think he's my number 2 this week. I'm moving him to number 1 because Bijan's going to be heavily involved in this passing offense, and Kirk Cousins is known to check down quite a bit.
Yeah, and I was going to say with Drake Mooney. Now I'm just combining their names. Darnell Mooney last week against the 49ers, back on 83% of the snaps, getting 5 targets, 68 yards, kind of getting back to where he was a little bit earlier in the season before all those injuries started cropping up. So yeah, Darnell Mooney, guys, make sure to go grab Drake London out of your lineups. AJ Brown is going to be out as well. That just came out. Eagles inactives against the Giants. It looks like Shedeur Sanders is going to be inactive. Bailey Zappi is going to back up Dylan Gabriel. David
I think
Njoku,
Sanders getting traded. I mean, that's interesting.
right? Speaking of, I didn't realize Bailey Zappi was still with the Browns either. So they've got enough quarterbacks over there. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm sure there's going to be lots of commentary on X on that here soon. David Njoku is active today, is going to make his return. Bill's inactive. Nobody that Josh Palmer. I mean, you're probably not starting him. Yeah. Okay. Dolphins are going back to Zach Wilson as the backup quarterback today. Quinn Ewers is inactive. Bengals came out, just scrolling through. Yeah. Like I said, guys, we will update you all as those things are coming in. All right. So why don't we get to some starts? We'll switch it on over to some sits. Once we get through there, guys, don't forget to throw in we actually have a few questions. Let's hit those first before we do our starts. And let's jump into those. I don't want those to get lost in the chat. First thing here, Crisscross wants to know full PPR, 3 wide receiver, 2 running back, 1 flex. He's got Franklin, Tez, or DK. So restarting the Atlanta D or the Bears D. Which one do we like the best? We got to start 2. So we got Troy Franklin against Dallas. We got Tez Johnson against the Saints. And then we've got DK. And it's DK from the Titans, because I noticed this when I was watching Red Zone last week. They kept saying DK in the end zone. And I was like, why? They're not showing a Steelers game. What is that? I was so confused with DK Metcalf. But yeah. So
this one's pretty easy for me. The Cowboys are absolutely a team to target, so I'm going with Troy Franklin. And Tez has been awesome. MVP Tez.
Yep.
He's been absolutely great. Last week I got hit a little bit on I did a little ladder bet for Tez because he had 40 yards. Last week I think he had 60 yards. Evans' injury sucks.
Yeah.
Godwin is out. Yes, it's Otten, but Tez Johnson's been very involved, and he's being involved deep. And so when he catches one, it's usually for 30, 40 yards. So Franklin and Tez, easy for me. And then we talked about it, the Ravens, that is rough. Atlanta, these are 2 very good options in regards to the tight ends. As far as the tight ends, let me look and see who I have ranked. I have Atlanta against Miami as my number 4, so a little bit higher.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely love Franklin against Dallas. They're giving up a ton of fantasy points to opposing teams, pretty much every position. Tez, you gotta love Tez. 3 weeks in a row of double-digit fantasy production. 10 points, 11 points, 15 last week against Detroit. Had his most targets last week with 9, 2 touchdowns in a row, back-to-back weeks. You gotta love Tez Johnson. So, and I just find it really difficult to start anybody on the Titans right now. I mean, they can barely get it past midfield. So you probably are, maybe you do have to this week just because of the buys, but if you have a choice, man, I would pick whatever your other option is, most likely.
Yeah. And I misspoke earlier. It was the Titans that have 7. The Jets have a whole 12 touchdowns. But the Titans have 7 touchdowns this year. It is just bad. They could be in the selling market where they sell off like Tony Pollard or something like that, or Chig. They're in rough shape.
Yeah. I feel like we all got bamboozled with Calvin Ridley, thinking that he had 1,000-yard, season last year. Like it'll even with that quarterback play last year, it should be fine with Cam Ward. But between the injuries and the play, it's been rough going.
It's been rough. And when a player chooses a team based on his girlfriend didn't want to move up north, I never, not a big fan of those kind of business decisions. He was good last year. He was better last year, but yeah.
Yeah. Not great. There. Yeah. All right, guys. We got another one here. We're going to pick 2 between Leggett, Booty, Tyler Algier, and we got DK again. I think you got to put Algier in now, especially with the news about London being out.
Yeah. I was going to put Booty in my start conversation. I didn't want to go too deep, but he's been really, really good. He's been one of the favorite end zone targets for Drake May. We know Diggs is going to lead them in targets, but he's route participation, snap share. And this guy is out there a lot. He is their clear number 2 receiver, and he's one of the top red zone targets. I like him a lot. And I'll take Algier as my number 2. Leggett is just hit or miss, and we'll see with Dalton. But with Coker back, I think you see a little bit less targets for him.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking too with Leggett. Earlier there was a question online about that too. And, you've got a different quarterback. He has been so boom or bust. Coker, I don't think Coker's going to get 0 targets again this week. So, no, he had 1 target, I think, zero receptions last week. But yeah, that just kind of strikes me as more of a Chuba Rico game today anyway. So,
yeah.
All right. So now let's go ahead and get to our starts. Dave, who you got? Tell me one of your go-tos for today.
Let me pull that up real quick. Sorry. My first one is Rachaad White. I know this one's a little obvious, but I have him really high in my rankings, in RB6 this week. And this is not your dad's Saints. They're running all over the Saints. And we saw last week, you could have started Kyle Monangai and DeAndre Swift and been fine. The Bears offensive line is not really something to write home about. And you're going to I think you're going to see the Buccaneers line dominate this game. They also have several injuries that came out for the Saints. So I think Rachaad White, you just look at volume. He's got 15 receptions in the last 4 games. So you're looking at least 3, maybe 4 receptions on top of the 13, 14, 15 touches. And he's getting the red zone work. I know Sean Tucker's got some of it, but Rachaad White is the guy there. It's not a full split. And so I like him a lot. And do you want me to go to my second one, or do you want to go?
Let me grab one real quick. I've got Bo Nix today. Dallas pass rush is giving up a ton of fantasy points to opposing teams' quarterbacks. They also just lost Travion Diggs on their defense, injured reserve now that came out last night. Nix was quarterback 9 in total points, or is quarterback 9 in total points per game this season. He's averaging about 20.2. And look, I know he struggled a little bit this season. It's not quite been as, fantastic as he was in his rookie year, but he's still giving you that rush upside coming off of his best week so far with 40 points last week. He was QB1 in fantasy, 48 yards on the ground. They against New York. I just think it's setting up for a really nice day for him today against Dallas. I'm actually really excited about that game. That should be one of the more fun ones in the later window.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Nix and those pass catchers. You just don't necessarily know which pass catcher other than Sutton. But they should have a very, very nice day. I have him as my QB5 this week.
Nice.
I put, just the Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert. I said it earlier. I mean, you could throw Saquon in there as well. I just think, it is going to be a tougher matchup without A.J. Brown, and the Giants did, their defense did well against them a couple weeks ago. But it's a small pie, but it's pretty much all of it's going to go to Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert. You can see them both getting 8 to 10 targets. And so I could see them both finishing, Dallas Goedert would not be surprised if he's tight end 1 on the week, and Devonta Smith could be a top 6 play. Again, I mentioned it earlier. The Giants are missing 2 of their starters on their secondary, and they're also just coming off of a huge letdown. Hopefully the Giants do well, but I have a feeling that Smith and Goddard are going to have great fantasy days.
Oh, yeah. I've got, now this is like kind of like a choose your own adventure here with the Pittsburgh tight ends. Cause I think all 3 of them could have a really good day today. The team that allows the most tight end points is Cincinnati, right? They played them last week. The team who allows the second most tight end points in fantasy is unfortunately my Green Bay Packers. So, we can't really in good conscience, like we said, recommend anybody from the Jets, right? So I'm trying to talk to you guys about these tight ends from Pittsburgh. Packers, like I said, incredibly vulnerable to the tight end position. They are allowing 19 points per game to that spot. Arthur Smith loves all of three, actually has four tight ends because we forget about the other one who's not named Johnny Smith, Darnell Washington, or Patty Fries, as I like to call him. Johnny Smith leading the group, 14.4 target share. Then you've got Freiermuth 9.8. Then you got Darnell Washington at 8 there. There are 6 touchdowns between these three players. He just loves going to these guys when they get in close. Inside the 20, they've each got 10 targets. Not each. They all have 10 targets total this season. Darnell Washington has 4 inside in that red zone area. So look, the Packers are significantly better against wide receivers and against the run. And this is just an area where I think Aaron Rodgers is really going to kind of exploit that weakness there. So, look, I'm not saying that all 3 get in the end zone again this week. That would be kind of crazy. But no, I don't think that you would be wrong in starting any of these guys this week, especially, it's the tight end position. It is National Tight End Day. It's by Mageddon. There's use for all 3 of these guys. So I think you could fire up any one of them. Do you have a favorite Pittsburgh tight end, Dave?
Jonnu is for me my favorite because of what he can do after the catch. With Washington, he's probably going to get 2 targets, but one of them is if he catches it, it's a touchdown. Yep. And then Freiermuth went off last week, which was interesting because he really has been super quiet going into this. So Jonnu for me, again, the damage he can do after the catch is just different than the other guys.
I love seeing Darnell Washington get the ball because he's just so big. And I just love seeing him run down the field, mowing guys over, getting down there in the end zone. That's it's just, for me, it's fun to watch. I enjoy that.
He's huge. You and I got to go to the combine, and I remember I got to see all the tight ends go in, and he looked like, I said, my pro comp is Ben Wallace, because he looked like he was about a foot taller. He had the fro picked out. Yeah. I'm like, he looked like he was with a bunch of receivers, and it was all the tight ends. And Darnell Washington looked like he was about 6 inches taller than everybody. Yeah,
he's just it's unbelievable. When I was looking, it was like his hand size was like 11 inches and something. Like, when you think about that, that's the size of a piece of paper. That's like a whole piece. Like somebody's hand is a whole piece of it. Like, that's just mind blowing to me.
And he's on the field a lot because he blocks. He's on the field a lot, which gives opportunity. He doesn't run too many routes, but it just seems like every week there's 1 or 2 plays a game where they just they roll out and then throw to the backside, and there's Darnell Washington standing by himself. Yeah. Catches a 30-yard pass, and then every time they go to the red zone, he's going to get at least one of those targets. So. Yeah, I do like that one. I did have a couple honorable mentions, a little deeper. Right. It's just the Dynasty D-Gens. I had to throw some rookies in there. So Jalen Noel and Tez Johnson. I really like Noel. It was kind of funny hearing the broadcast on the show, and Orlovsky was like, he kept talking about Noel. He's like, I would throw Noel. I throw Noel. I throw Noel. As soon as Nico went out, and then they finally did, and it was like, oh, that works. Yeah, he's good in short area space. He's not necessarily going to be a burner down the field, but he's the kind of guy that can get open quick, and this offensive line cannot block. Right, and so I think he's someone that you see. Higgins and Hutchinson, they're going to be down the field, but Schultz and Noel are going to do all the dirty work, the close underneath stuff. And I think Noel gets quite a bit of targets today, and I really like his ability after the catch. And then Tez Johnson, like I said earlier, he's awesome.
Yeah, I love those two. Real quick, because I've got a couple honorable mentions too, but you mentioned Hutchinson, so I want to throw this question out here. So France wants to know Hutchinson, Calvin Austin, or Njoku 1 point PPR with no tight end premium today.
I got Hutchinson. It's PPR. Let me look to see if Hutchinson or Njoku. Those are the two that I'm considering. So let me see if I have Njoku higher than Hutchinson.
Yeah, I'm going to take a look and see what New England typically does, how they match up against the tight ends.
Because we've seen Njoku and Gabriel make some damage.
They do, and so the Patriots a little bit middle to the end. They're giving up about 14 fantasy points to opposing teams' tight ends this year. and you kind of, it's hard to pick against David Njoku, you know?
Yeah, I'm gonna switch my spot in here. I'm going with Njoku with full PPR. And part of it is just the upside. I mean, when you're taking shots like this, you want someone that's going to be able to have a big week. And Hutchinson gives you 3 for 40. You're not too excited about that. There's obviously all these guys could give you a donut, but Njoku's we've seen it. He's had some big weeks, and it's National Tight End Day.
Exactly. My couple honorable mentions real quick. We talked about DeAndre Swift, Kalmanangai. Chicago's run game's really kind of shaped up over the last couple weeks. Last week, both guys in the top 12. Swift is RB6 in week 6. Plus, they, like we talked about, get the Ravens, who are allowing over 130 rushing yards per game, tied for third most in rushing touchdowns allowed this season. So I like both of those guys today. I feel like you could probably start, DeAndre Swift. Obviously, he is active today, so no concern about that injury. And you could probably throw Manungai in a flex spot if you needed. And then Dalton Schultz, like we've talked about, just because of the volume, the injuries, all those issues. He did go off week 7 against Seattle, 10 targets, 98 yards, 18 fantasy points. It's volume play, really, is why I kind of like Dalton Schultz today. Yeah, no problem. Anytime, guys. Thanks for hanging out in the chat, getting us those questions. We're going to do some sits now. Who are we absolutely not starting, Dave?
Well, you took one of mine, which I'll let you mention that one. But Zay Flowers, he's just been, it's always been a little hit or miss with him. But when there's no Lamar Jackson, I'm not very comfortable starting Zay Flowers. He's a high-end wide receiver 3 for me this week. I mean, there is a lot of people out, so you probably do have to go with someone like him. But we've seen him struggle with these different quarterbacks, and it's just not the same offense without Lamar Jackson. So, and the defense has been a part of the problem. They cannot get off the field on third down. Like when you that feeling where you're just like, I just need a couple more points out of my guy, and like every third down, it's like first down, penalty. It's like you can't get on the field. So like Flowers is just, it's been a big struggle. So I'm really not a big fan of starting him this week. He's a flex option at best.
Yeah. We got a question real quick in here. We want to do Shepard or Bateman, half point PPR. I think I got to go. What you just talked about with Flowers and no Lamar and everything. I kind of like Shepard there. Everybody's banged up in Tampa. Baker and Shepard do have a really good connection. I think everybody forgets that like they played in college together. It's one of those where you're kind of like, oh my God, they've both been around that long. They played in college together. You just kind of forget that they, do have that kind of rapport there. And the fact that there's literally no one else in Tampa. I like Shepard a little bit better for all of
Shep.
Yeah, Shep for sure. All right. Sit for me. We brought him up earlier. Ramondre Stevenson. Cleveland's allowing only 82.4 rushing yards per game, and they have the highest team run stuff rate this season at 23.7%. I know he's coming off a really good week, but that was against Tennessee. They give up the 4th most rushing yards per game this season. And he's had some real stinkers. I think we all kind of, if you have Ramondre Stevenson, like what an up and down, year it's been for him too. The Pats have the lowest EPA, rushing EPA so far this season too, 6th lowest, just to kind of bring that up. So I just am not really excited about Ramondre Stevenson this week. Who knows? And like, how much longer? I don't know. Are they going to not play Travion Henderson? I don't even know answers to those questions. It feels like every week they should do it, but they don't. So I don't know.
I mean, group. Even with so many injuries, I got Henderson on the bench on like 7 of my dynasty teams, and it's just like, what? And I don't know how he's projected for like 8 points when he has 8 points all year. It's a struggle, and now they really like this Jennings kid. So, I like that one. Stevenson could easily, if he doesn't hit the end zone and he has, even if he has 80 yards rushing, he could have 2 fumbles and you get 4 points. So, not very interested in him. I talked earlier about it. Chuba Hubbard, he doesn't look the same coming back from the injury. He kind of split series with Rico Dowdle, and I mean, you don't have to know a lot about football to see that Dowdle looks a lot better. He just looks a lot better, more explosive, making guys miss. And so Chuba had, he split all those carries. He still had a high volume, 16 touches last week. He had to have a lot of fantasy points, right? No, 5.5 fantasy points on 16 touches. I'm not interested. I know the Bills give up a whole lot. That a lot of that has to do with the fact that they got boat raced by the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry had about 300 yards rushing on them the first week. They're getting healthier. They're a little bit tougher the last few weeks against the rush. But just at the end of the day, I think Dowdle is going to get more carries than Hubbard as they continue to play against each other, and Dowdle looks better.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, Dowdle looks so much better right now. All right, guys. One of mine is going to be, well, I guess it's kind of a group, really. Those Indy pass catchers, and really it's because of the game script here. Like, they're more than 14-point favorites over Tennessee today. I feel like they're just going to be up early and by a lot. This could be a Jonathan Taylor has another hat trick this week. He already has 3 of those this season. I just don't feel like they're going to be throwing a ton after halftime. If even at that point, it may be after like the first quarter, who knows? I mean, this might be, a game where they're just kind of running out the clock there just to kind of be done with this after a huge blowout. But I just, that's really it for me is, they could be up early and often, and then you're not seeing those guys getting those targets like you would hope,
Yeah. We saw it with the Chargers. I had a couple little bets on there, and I was like, man, like we're crushing it. First half, we're like almost there already. We just need a couple more catches, and it was like, oh, rush. The whole second half, I'm like, damn, it's like, I'm like, do something, Minnesota, do something. And so, the Tennessee Titans are probably not going to do something. And so you're probably right. I mean, the Colts are pretty impressive right now.
Yeah, I mean, I could be completely wrong on that. And I'm sure they're going to have decent days. They're going to have good days, right? Because they're really the best offense in the league right now. They look amazing. But it just the game script wise. That's all. Nothing to do with
as you say that, I'm thinking I probably need to cool my jets on a few of these Colts and drop them down my rankings a little bit.
You got any honorable mentions?
Well, I thought you were going to mention this one, but really the Miami Dolphins. Waddle is potentially in the trade market. Any of these guys that are got some notable trade considerations around them. I have some concerns about what their play is like this week because the NFL, I mean, and if your fantasy football league has an early trade deadline, the frustration. The NFL trade deadline is way too early. And, there's teams that they don't know if they're in it or not yet. And so they don't make moves. I feel like it should be, pushed back to December 1st. But it's really, I mean, you're looking at the trade deadline, and Jalen Waddle is someone that's already in a bad situation and is already pretty, hot or cold with how he plays. And now he's potentially on the trade block. And so him, he's a guy. Chris Olave's name's been mentioned. I think those guys are far more likely to be traded than Brian Thomas Jr. If those guys are going to be traded, are we really going to see them go out there and get 10, 12 targets? Tua is also sick now. They got an illness. So he's sick. I don't know. And
he can't see Jalen Waddle anyway. So
yeah, he can't see Jalen Waddle because he's too short. So
it's kind of like, I feel like every time we hear like a clip from Tua, it's like he's gone on ChatGPT and is like, what's the worst thing I could possibly say right now? And then that's what he does.
Yeah, like, I mean, he seems like such a good dude. I'm not a fan of CTE jokes. I mean,
no,
I hate that, but he is the play where you hear the mic'd up Brown and he's like, give it to me, Tua, give it to me, Tua, and he picks Tua off.
Yep.
It's like, that's bad. This is not good.
No, it's really hard to watch everything that's going in Miami, whether it's, like a Mike McDaniel's conference, stuff from Tua, like it's
it's for me, the Miami Dolphins offensive line, they put some resources into it, but you look at what the Chiefs did, they got rid of Tyreek Hill, they invested in the offensive line, and then Miami Dolphins, they got Tyreek Hill, they paid Jalen Waddle. They don't have an offensive line. They paid the quarterback. You have to have an offensive line for these teams to run, especially if you're looking for a team with a downfield passing attack. And they can't run block. They can't pass block. And, I've heard the quote, you find a good football team, they probably have a good offensive line. Yep. It's really hard to find a good football team with a bad offensive line.
Yeah.
And they just have one of the worst in the league.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, look at Philly, like look at what they've done, with that, and then compare it to like the Bengals and Miami, and just like their quarterback.
It's the foundation of your house
every week. Yeah, exactly.
And so yeah, Waddle's my honorable mention. Yeah, it could go off today, but if he's on the trade market, he could be someone that you could see a stinker.
Definitely. I picked him last week too, and I was like, God, I feel like I hate coming back and I feel like it's like low hanging fruit at this point to pick anybody on Miami. But it's so true though. I mean, he had 2.5 points last week against Cleveland. This week, what we just talked about, it's hard not to. It's hard not to say him.
Breece Hall is like someone that I thought about putting him on here because again, all the trade rumors and all the things that's been going on with him for months. And for him, there's a little bit more smoke to it because even he's come out and said things like they've said I'm not their guy. He's putting stuff on Twitter, I think if you look at it, Breece Hall gets an amazing matchup, but then Breece Hall could be one of these guys that's on, on the market. Yeah. And if he's on the market, they're not going to throw him out there and give him 25, 30 touches. So those guys, it's a weird week.
Yeah.
You can see a lot of these guys just be, Waddle could be out there just as a decoy.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's just jump down to, let's do a couple of our little betting props or DFS dart throws this week. I've got all mine have to do with tight ends. Dave, what are you looking at? What do you think will hit today?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the tight ends. I think that's where you go because if you're talking about tight end touchdown props, I think we have a lot of guys that are interesting with some longer odds. I like if you want to go with just one longer odd guy, Noah Fant. We saw Joe Flacco tossing it all around the yard, and Noah Fant was a guy that he's got some familiarity with coming back from when he played together in the Broncos. He did look to him quite a bit in this offense as that third piece. And so he's got a little longer odds. But, yeah, I think you look at Kittle, Goddard, Kraft. Give me those three. And then if I want to go with a longer guy, give me the Noah Fant.
Nice. I got a little crazy, and I did a little 7 bet parlay over here where I've got let's see, anytime touchdown for George Kittle, Dalton Kincaid, Cade Otton, Jake Ferguson, Tucker Kraft, and Travis Kelce. And then I went the over on Dalton Schultz for his receiving yards. He has a 49.5. Like I said, this is a little crazy, just a little fun one. I always like to throw in like a fun one just in case it hits, But so I'm in Florida, and we can only use Hard Rock as our betting thing here. For multiple reasons that I won't go into because I'll just get on a rant. But they had a whole list of different bets involving tight ends specifically for today that I thought was kind of cool. So there's one with and I felt like if I got to put my money where my mouth is here. So there was a one for Freiermuth, Hayward, and Darnell Washington combined for 3+ touchdowns today at plus 3,000. So put a couple bucks on that for giggles. Yeah, and then there's one that I did with Jake Ferguson, Kyle Pitts, George Kittle to combine for 3+ today. So
and this is a shout out to Jamie, Harold Fannin plus 320, and David Njoku plus 325 for an anytime touchdown. If you're going to go a little crazy, go with the first touchdown of the game. You get plus 1,600, plus 1,800 for Fannin and Njoku, and then Hunter Henry's at plus 900 for the first touchdown of the game.
Love it. Guys, I hope you make some money on National Tight End Day for you. Last but not least, we've got our Monday Night Football matchup between the Washington Commanders, Kansas City Chiefs. Maddox is here to hopefully pick the winner. We'll see. His pick, I won't tell you his pick just yet. You'll get to see it in a second. But if he's not right this week, I don't know when he'll be right. So here you go. Oh, I thought this one had music. Well, anyway. There he is. He's got the Chiefs helmet. So he's taking the Chiefs today, or tomorrow rather. So, his only right pick so far has been the Bears upset. So fingers crossed. I think he picked a good one today this time. I think he might get it.
Yeah. I think he's got this one. I'm going with him.
Hopefully.
Does Charlene got something for us before we get out of here?
Yeah, Charlene. What's up, Charlene? Thanks for hanging out. Charlene, I know she's a big Niners fan, big Broncos fan. So I'm sure she'll be right there with us with the Kittle, touchdown today.
I'm a Giants fan, but my second favorite team is whoever is playing the Cowboys. So go Broncos.
Here we go. All right, guys. So get out there, make your lineup changes. Go do that real quick. Go throw in those DFS bets, make you a little money. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Dave, thank you so much for joining and spending your Sunday morning with us. Tell everybody where they can find you and where they can find your content.
Yeah, at Dynasty Dorks on X and on TikTok. And then I am the social media guy for Dynasty Trade Calculators. So get on there and interact with us. Send us your trades.
Nice. And Mike put a code down here, DGen for Dynasty Trade Calculator, right? Underneath your name there. If you guys are watching on YouTube, that is code DGen. So yeah, get on out there. Give Dave a follow. Dave, again, thanks so much. Thanks to everybody who's hanging in the chat. Guys, we will be back next week with Drew Davenport. He is going to be hanging out with us as well. We are going to get real nerdy and talk a bunch of lawyery, nerdy stuff. Hopefully you guys will have a good time. But again, until then, we'll see you later. Have a great Sunday, everybody. Bye-bye.